Okay, this is for Algebra 1, and this is Factoring Polynomials, Day 1. You have to remember what the greatest common factor is, which is what we learned yesterday. And the greatest common factor is the biggest number that will go into all of the terms. And then if there is a variable in all of the terms, you can use it with the smallest exponent that it ever had. So when you're factoring a polynomial, you figure out what the greatest common factor is and you write it down. Then you open parentheses, and you're going to pull out that greatest common factor, and you pull it out by division. So your coefficients will divide by the number in the greatest common factor. And then remember, we learned with exponents that to divide, you actually subtract your exponents. So you're going to subtract your exponents. You do this for each term, and then you close your parentheses. So this is not on your notes, but here's a quick example. If we had 4x squared y minus 12x, you look at these and you say, well, 4 and 12, what will go into both of them? Well, they both divide by 4, so I'm going to pull out a 4. Then you look at your x and you say, is it in both terms? Yes, it is, so I get to write it down. You have to go back to that x and say, what are the exponents? We have an exponent of 2 and an exponent of 1. Which of those is smaller? The 1 is, so I'm going to pull out x to the first. I don't have to write that 1. In fact, it's better not to. Then you look at the y and you say, is there one over here? There's not, which means that I cannot pull it out. So all I'm going to pull out is a 4 and an x. So I'm ready to open parentheses, and then I'm going to factor it out. I'm going to say 4 divided by 4 is 1. I had an x squared, and I'm pulling an x out. 2 minus 1 is 1, so it leaves me x to the first. I have a y up here. There's not 1 being pulled out, so I have to just write it down. Once again, you don't have to have that 1 for the exponent on x. Bring down your minus and do it all again. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 1 minus 1 is 0, which means the x goes away. Close your parentheses. This right here is your answer. Okay, so back to your notes. There's an example on your notes. We have 4x to the third y plus 14xy squared. 4 and 14 will both divide by 2. They both have an x, and the smallest exponent was 1. They both have a y, and the smallest exponent was 1. So I'm going to pull out 2xy. Open parentheses, and to pull it out, I'm going to divide the big number, subtract the exponents. 4 divided by 2 is 2. X to the third, pulling out an x, you're going to say 3 minus 1 is 2, so x squared. 1 minus 1 is 0 for the y's, that means it's gone. Plus, 14 divided by 2 is 7. X and x are going to cancel, it's gone. And 2 minus 1 leaves you y to the first. So this is your answer. Okay, looking at number 1. We have a 12 and an 18. If you're not sure what the common denominator is, come over here to the side and do what we did yesterday. What will they both divide by? 2. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 18 divided by 2 is 9. They'll both divide by 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 9 divided by 3 is 3. There's nothing in common. What is 2 times 3? 6. I'm pulling it out. Is there an m in both terms? Yes. Smallest exponent was 1. Is there an n in both terms? Yes. Smallest exponent is 2. So I'm going to pull out 6mn squared. So open my parentheses and I'm ready to divide. 12 divided by 6 is 2. M, pulling an m out, cancels. N squared, pulling n squared out, cancels. So there are no letters at this point. Bring down your minus. Do it again. 18 divided by 6 is 3. M squared, pulling an m out, leaves you m. N squared cancels. This right here is your answer. Looking at number 2. We have a 20, a 15, and a 5. They all divide by 5. It's okay to have more than 2 terms. They all have an a, smallest exponent is 1. They do not all have a b, so I can't pull it out. And they all have a c, smallest exponent was 1. So I'm pulling out 5ac. Open parentheses and divide. 20 divided by 5 is 4. Your a cancels, your b comes down, and your c cancels. Plus 15 divided by 5 is 3. A squared, pull an a out, leaves you a. Your c cancels. Minus 5 divided by 5 is 1. Your a cancels, your c cancels, so you're done. Close your parentheses. Now, if you notice, this 5ac and this 5ac totally canceled, You have to put a 1 there. You can't just leave that spot empty. 25 and 15 both divide by 5. They both have an a. The smallest exponent is 2. So I'm going to pull out 5a squared. Open parentheses. 25 divided by 5 is 5. a to the 4th, pull out a squared. When you subtract your exponents, you get a squared. Plus 15 divided by 5 is 3. A squared cancels. There's your answer. 18 and 12 both divide by 6, and they both have an x. Smallest exponent is 2. So you pull out a 6x squared. 18 divided by 6 is 3. X squared cancels. Minus 12 divided by 6 is 2. X to the 3rd, pull out x squared, leaves you x. 28 and 56. Probably not really sure what your common denominator is, so we'll divide by 2, and we'll get 14 and 28. We'll divide by 2, and we'll get 7 and 14. Divide by 7, and you'll get 1 and 2. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 7 is 28. They both have an a, they both have a b. 28 divided by 28 is 1. A squared becomes a, and the b goes away. Plus 56 divided by 28 is 2. A cancels, b cancels, c squared has to come down. Remember, if there is a variable that was not pulled out but shows up, it has to come down. This is your answer. 20 and 24 both divide by 4. They both have an x. 20 divided by 4 is 5. X squared becomes x. Minus 24 divided by 4 is 6. X cancels, bring down your y squared. If you're not sure whether you got the biggest common denominator, when you get through, look at the numbers there and make sure they don't have anything in common. 5 and 6 have nothing in common, so I know I pulled out the best thing. Also, make sure that you don't have the same letter showing up. If you do, that means you didn't get your greatest common factor. Okay, so this was Factoring Polynomials, Day 1. If you have any questions, come see me during speed.